The podcast is to help expert witnesses. And to jump to the first question is, how do you usually find expert witnesses?
Earlier in my legal career, I was working for the man, and I would just ask some of the older attorneys, or they had an ongoing list. And so it still is a bit of just going with people I know. I have group chats. I'm in the Georgia Trial Lawyers Association listserv, GTLA listserv. So there's a lot of that, looking for recommendations, especially if it's nuanced. But that's the primary role, is word of mouth. So if you do good work with attorneys, they're typically going to talk about it with their colleagues. And so that's some of my go-to people. I use a directory, a couple different directories. And anytime you get an out-of-the-box thing, that's when I'm always interested in new tools and new places to find experts. Whenever something comes up that you're like, oh, I've never worked with someone like this before. We had a pretty big pause on litigation. We were filing cases, but in terms of actually going to trial, and I didn't feel the need to spend the money on the experts for a while. In hindsight, maybe that's a bit of a mistake, because I think there's a huge argument for preparing for trial up immediately, but just also we filed a lot of cases that are a little more soft tissue injury. Throughout the pandemic, we're able to have really good outcomes without having to get too deep into or hiring experts, but we're past that now. And so I have trial. It just got kicked, actually, but I had trial Monday. It got kicked because of the defense expert, but it's usually word of mouth. I think and that's also like for any plaintiff's attorney, that's our best source of clients, is other clients. And so I think it's probably gonna be the same bet for any expert as the lawyers they're working with.
Thank you for sharing that. And for those cases where you have to find an expert where it's outside your network and you have to go most likely on Google, ChatGPT, somewhere that you don't usually go to because you can't find an expert the normal ways that you do, that's where I come in to help the experts with their web design and search engine optimization so that attorneys like yourself can find them online. But that's where there's a thin line that they have to walk between marketing themselves and making sure they don't put anything out there that can be used against them in the position. So would you still recommend that these experts, they got to do marketing, they got to promote their business, their practice? How would you recommend that they go about marketing themselves so that they don't get themselves into any trouble?
That's a good question. I get that some too, right? That people, in terms of like our marketing's kind of bold, and my law firm's called Pain Pros, and it's very much we get you paid for your pain. We're the pros at that. We make no bones about it. Now, do I take my vehicle that's wrapped in $100 bills to trial? Do I drive the Rap G-Wagon to trial? No, I do not. But that's the type of thing that they do try to use against you. And I think to varying degrees of success. But as far as your own advertising, it also, I think it depends on an expert. Are you doing all plaintiff's work or are you doing all defense work? If you are, then that's going to be used against you with more success. Whereas if you're advertising, I call balls and strikes, and then when we're preparing for the deposition and we're getting that's one of the things I'm asking for. I want to know how's that breakdown for I want a list of all your cases that's gone to deposition or trial, and so we're going to be looking through that and seeing if we can come to assumptions, and we're going to be doing some research on you. My go-to is to search on the listservs, whether it's AAJ or GTLA. I don't have too much casework outside of Georgia, but if I were, I'd be reaching out to a colleague to check that state listserv. And then, but yeah, just searching through that and seeing what we got, but also searching online. And so if you can start to paint a picture that this is, and I'm using Defense Hack because that's who I'm looking at, but I'm sure they could say the same for us if we have, and they do the same thing with our doctors if they do too much plaintiff's work, right? So you lose credibility that way. But again, if you have, and I think it's a good idea to take clients from both sides of this, because otherwise they try and paint that picture. But if you are able to let your work stand for you, then I think it's good you can be the best expert in the world. You don't have anyone using you. It's the same thing with the lawyer. You can be the best lawyer in the world, but if the clients aren't calling you, then you're no one's lawyer. I think it's probably a delicate balance, and probably you want to be a little bit more professional. Not that we're not professional, but like we have some creative marketing, and I don't necessarily think, and also you guys are B2B, whereas we're B2C, so it's a little different in terms of the way we're marketing. The average person gets in a car accident once every 16 and a half years, so usually when we're marketing them, they don't need us, whereas when you're getting your name out there as an expert, we always need experts essentially, or we're looking for the next time we do. It's a good question. I don't have a great answer for you, but I think to an extent, I think it should be fine.
And to go a little bit more into the nitty-gritty details of that is, I've heard both sides that having a search icon can be good, One, so that attorneys can discover more about you. The other side, so that the opposition can find things to use against you in the position. So I'd be curious to get your thoughts on that. If a search icon on a website actually helps the expert, or it could do more damage where it can be used against them.
A little bit of it is just they can get all that in discovery anyways, right? So whether they're able to get it up front or they have to send some discovery requests, I think they're going to get basically all that. So I don't think, and also in terms of, I don't know how much they're getting out of that anyways. I send my prior medical history before they ever ask for it. They're going to get it anyways if it's a serious case. We were looking at litigation. They're going to get it in discovery. And my understanding is that on the defense side of things, the way the insurance companies look at it, that's a box that they're checking that actually allows them to get us more authority. And so I just think it's like you're going to get it anyways. It actually can only help us, really. We're not hiding the ball, I don't think. And again, I think it all goes back to the type of work someone does, right? If you don't want to be a hack one way or the other, right? And I think just doing good work shields yourself from that and allows the work to shine.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And another aspect is the tone of voice of the articles. Let's say you find an expert through a Google search that you're looking to hire, and you're reading the article and you see the tone of voice, and you can tell they used AI for the grammar and other aspects of the article. And I'm wondering, if does the fact that you can tell that they're using AI, even though the source, the information is 100% proof, if you had to fact check it, if it came to the position time and someone inquired to them, or the opposing side questioned them about it, they can 100% verify it with facts, right? So the information is 100% true. But is the fact that they're using AI in the writing, does that weigh in on your decision whether to hire an expert or not?
Yeah, I love the question. I think AI is obviously, for one, it's one of the most like cliche examples of AI gone awry. Is all the lawyers have gotten in trouble from not checking the hallucinated case sites that just get made up, and so also shame on you for not checking your sites. If my associate does it, I'm still going to check their sites real. And you need to. I think you should be using AI. I think you're going to be more. It's just there's a question of review, right? You can't just blindly use AI. And so I think, as great as I think I'm a pretty great writer, that's part of why I got into law. And AI helps, right? It can improve. It's like having an editor on the fly always. So it's great. And I think you get what you put in, right? So if you're just relying on it to produce stuff, it's going to make stuff up. But if you are doing it yourself and then using AI to improve, or to brainstorm. Give me 10 ideas on this last paragraph, and I'll put the whole. So obviously my stuff is a little different than the expert's house, but my point is, hey, you're right about, you can tell often the AI kind of, it has there are some tells now, and not just on the extra fingers and stuff like that. You can tell in the writing. At the same time, when people don't use AI nowadays, you need to be. And I think even if some people are like, oh, I spent so much time doing this, and the net time is about the same. You gained experience with prompting with AI. That I think is beneficial in itself. Next time it'll be a little quicker, right? So I think you should be using AI, but just not blindly. And I don't know the full extent of how it works on y'all's end in terms of producing that, but I think the inputs really matter, right? And just being very cognizant of that, I think and also a lot of the experts probably deal with medical records, things like that. Like ChatGPT, they say don't use it. If you have the business version, you can. It's siloed, so they're not going to train on your stuff. And then there's also lots of different platforms in law and medicine and the intersection that are specific for that. They're applying ChatGPT, but they're siloing your stuff and things like that. So there's irresponsible ways to use it. And but also I would add that it's probably irresponsible not to use it in some capacity.
Got it. So if it reads like AI, but the source and the information is 100% true, then it's totally fine.
I would say if you're reviewing your AI, it shouldn't read like AI. It really should. It should read more like you. And I think it reads like AI when you're doing it blindly, right? That's the main thing. We all acknowledge that AI is going to go into a lot of everything now, so I don't think it's any shame in that. But you want the finished product to not have those telltale signs necessarily, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for clarifying that. And stepping back into the whole purpose of the podcast, which is to know how attorneys think, is what would you say to an expert that is getting marketing advice from someone who claims to know exactly how attorneys think?
I certainly can't speak for all attorneys, and I think that's the point, right? That we think differently. There's lots of different types of attorneys, and I think that's why law firm partners are important, right? And I think it takes different types of people to make a great team. And I deal with a lot of attorneys on the B2B stuff because of my legal staffing company, right? I got the people in Medellin, Abogados Americanos Staffing. We got people for very low price, AAS.legal. But anyways, my point is that it's just we'll be at a conference and then you'll meet someone and they're like socially awkward in the response, right? And you notice they're not being rude. That's how they are. And that makes them really good at certain aspects of what they do. But it's like a little weird. So, and then every law firm's different. Who's making the decision on who they're hiring? Is it the attorney that's trying the case? Is it lit department wide? There's all sorts of ways that could go. And so there's all sorts of different personalities that would be involved. So there's certainly, I don't say like just one type, but I would say we definitely fall in a couple different categories though. And I'd say I represent one kind. There's plenty of lawyers like me, but I think it comes back to the work and letting that speak for itself. And so the easiest way is going to be whoever type of lawyer that is it's a cosign from another lawyer, someone else having worked with them in the past. And so just in the beginning, I think just whoever will let you do some work for them. And obviously another thing, especially in more crowded spaces, is costs. I wish all my cases, it'd be nice if all my cases were catastrophic, but all not because that means a lot of people are hurt, but in terms of take smaller cases, my law firm's 4 years old. And that means that we can't spend as much on experts. We have to be more frugal on that. And like I'm big on life care plans, and I guess that's kind of an expert, right? And there's certain companies that are cheaper than others, and I can't do that to my client on these smaller cases. You know, some you're paying $5,000 for a doctor life care plan, some you're paying $12,000, right? I can't do the 12 or anything close to that for that entire category of clients. Now I get that sometimes it's worth it to have someone who's an expert in this type of doctor, whatever, and that makes sense on those cases. That's going to be very more competitive. So I just think if you're newer or you're in a really real crowded space, then as an expert, getting some experience and working with people, getting those recommendations, then it'll start flowing, and you'll be able to increase your rate over time as your experience warrants.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's safe to say that not all attorneys think the same, and it's on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, because again, I think it really is about just like, all right, track record, recommendations. Someone says it's good, you're easy to work with, and then just like cost, right? Like we're really just looking at cost because that's coming out of our client's bottom line. Like we're fronting it, that's fine, but like it is going to come out of our client's case expenses, and these are some of the bigger ticket items. So that's why we have to be mindful of it, because I have to be able to look at the client and have a conversation with the client and be like, this is the ROI on that expenditure. And usually we're looking, that's why we brought the expert, because we really think it's necessary and it's going to be a key point in the case. But again, that's especially if it's like an earlier settling case. If it's like we're going to file suit, then they have to take it more seriously, and we're going to probably settle either right away or like right after depo. Then that's a different scenario. And as much, again, as it'd be great if I had the budget to just go guns blazing every single case, like that'd be financially irresponsible for my clients on a lot of cases that I take. And I think it really just comes down a lot of times to cost. Now, again, I think you can make the argument that it's worth it, but just sometimes if we can find a comparable one that's cheaper, again, that's going to get you in the door. And so I think it really is about just getting having a rapport built with someone and getting an opportunity. And whatever type of lawyer you are, we're all worried about that bottom line.
Let's say there's an expert that wanted to connect with you in regards to backlinks, because a big thing in search engine optimization is building backlinks. And this expert wanted to approach you, not necessarily for you to write a full page about him on your website, but he wants to do some collaboration where he writes or she writes a blog post about a specific topic that serves your audience. How would you like this expert to approach you with the goal in mind that in this blog post you add a backlink to his website?
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I didn't expect that question. I think it's great. I have a company that I work with that helps me with SEO on my website, and they're all about, we have our monthly meetings, and it's all about the backlinks and the authority you get. Same thing on my social team, right? They're like, oh, your most viral stuff other than the crazy rap G-Wagon is me and when I have other lawyers in, and then we're just like gassing each other up, because a lot of them are my clients on the staffing. That was some of the best stuff. It adds authority from that, right, in the eyes of the audience. And the algorithm loves it too, is my understanding. So yeah, no, I think that's awesome. And I think a really cool proactive way to get that, because I'm always down to work with someone, give someone else a shot, right? So yeah, next time we have a case like that, we'll keep you in mind. and then that gets you that first opportunity often. So I think that's cool. And even if you don't work together anytime soon, you're going to get both mutual benefit from that online activity. So I think that's a really cool point, and I think that's an awesome thing. We would be receptive to it. Any experts out there want to do a collabo on a blog post or social media stuff, I'd be happy to do so. I think that's a really cool out-of-the-box way of doing it. And then again, it's back to that original question, like, do you really want to advertise, though? Yeah, maybe that comes up in a deposition one day, but I really don't think there's anything wrong with what we're talking about either. So yeah, you want to ask a question about it? Sure, I'll answer. But yeah, I think that's a cool idea.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, it's something that I'm going to start implementing for my expert witness clients so that they get even better results than what they have been getting. And Ian, thank you so much again for being here. At the end, I like to give a little time for people that don't know you. You are able to talk about yourself, your law firm, and how is it that you help people.
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate the time and happy to do a little plug. Yeah, my law firm. I'm born and raised here in Atlanta, Georgia. Started my law firm almost 5 years ago. We're getting there. And we have a great personal injury firm here in Atlanta, and I also own a legal staffing company, and that allows me to keep my client to case manager ratio extremely low. The trainers for my staffing company are the case managers and paralegals for the law firm. So it's a really cool system. And in terms of really recommend using experts whenever it makes sense, that's really important. Even if you can't afford it, like there are companies out there that will help you fund, your expenses so you can continue to do that in the long run. But yeah, thanks so much. Also, you can follow me on Instagram and my personal account at Grady ESQ, Grady Esquire, and at paid4 Pain Pros. We have the trademark, but it's taken some time to getting all the other people kicked off our ats. So we have TikTok, we don't have Twitter or X. We have Facebook, we don't have Instagram. So anyways, appreciate your time as well. This has been fun.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much again, Ian. Actually, I'll connect with you. We'll see if there's a collaboration we can do with some of the experts that I have, if it would be beneficial for you as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I wasn't just gassing you up. I really thought that's a great idea, and I would love to. I think it's a really cool way it benefits everyone, and more importantly, it benefits me, benefits the expert, but it benefits the public and potential clients, because that's, again, information that we're getting out there in kind of new ways, and we get to build upon your audience and my audience. Each audiences are going to get some information that could be super beneficial. Obviously, experts, this could be a number of categories, which again really expands the different ways we could be, the different ideas for content, like exploring different things that can help. Because I'm big on the infotainment, right? It's not that entertaining, but we try to make it a little bit more entertaining. We're talking about uninsured motorist coverage, but we try to at least give it a positive spin and the information that people need.
Awesome. I'm excited to talk more about that. And again, thank you again, Ian. Thank you so much for being part of this. I think this is going to be extremely beneficial to a lot of the experts.
Thank you. And hey, please send us like the rough cut and stuff like that. We'd love to post all this on our socials too.
All right. Thank you so much again, Ian. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.